in my hands like it's no thing. Jacket same color as the smoke stains. Pray to God that I never grow old, but I also pray to God that I grow wings. Damn, can't lie, today was a good day. Fell fly, new cool kicks and a kick-ass ride. And I kick it with my dogs, we just trying to get by. Just a couple of punks, all trying to get by. Just a couple of teens, all trying to survive. Live to the max, cause you don't live it twice. Couple green thumbs, all highs, okay?
And welcome back to another episode of Life to the Max. I am your host, Maximilian Gross, aka the Godfather, and today I have someone that I admire so much. Someone that has faced so much adversity, and someone that is just bounced over obstacles. He's a quadriplegic just like me. His name is Kenneth Jennings, but I call him Coach because he's a football coach. And I'm just going to let him talk. Coach, welcome to the show.
What's up, Max? Love being here. Looking forward to this. Been looking forward to it for a while.
Yeah.
Thank you for walking me into your beautiful home. And I say let's get started.
Let's get started. So, full disclosure, the way me and Coach met is when I got injured at RIC, which is Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago. You're a mentor, right? You come in to help other patients. Is that true?
Yeah, I do mentoring where I go in and talk to some of the newly spinal cord injury patients. Just let them know that you're not alone, and you got someone that you could talk to that been through what you're about to go through.
Dude, honestly, that helped me so much.
Yeah, I did it because I know when I got hurt, we didn't have mentors back then, but somebody came into my life that was a mentor for me, and his name was Gerald Stingley, and he got hurt playing professional football 10 years before I got hurt, and it just changed my life, and I was like, to have opportunity to do that for somebody else is amazing.
And you know what? It really helped me because I was going through a rough patch. I mean, I was 20 years old. It happened It happened right in the prime of my life. You know, like I felt like I was doing everything right, and then all of a sudden, bam, paradox flips upside down. The world changes. I don't know what's going on, but I meet the kindest people like you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And when something like that happens, it changes your life. You know, you go from, like you say, living the prime of your life. Because for me too, I was the captain of the football team, playing middle linebacker, playing fullback, getting scholarship offers, and then bam, all of it in a matter of a few seconds, it was all taken away from me. And so for me, I dealt with it a little different than what a lot of other people deal with it. I had is what they would call a day going viral. It went viral, so it's like I got so much attention from it. I never had opportunity to really get down about it because it's just constantly people there, people around me, on the news, all those different things. So I never had a chance to really get down about it. But I mean, I did have my difficult times, but I just wanted to share with other people the positiveness that you can have from it and how important that is to survive in something like this.
Yes, having a support system is so huge.
Yeah.
And it's people who don't even know you and you're like making an impact on their lives, it just speaks volumes. That's why I started the podcast. I always say it every episode, but I started the podcast so people can share their stories. You know?
And it's very important, and I thank you for doing that because you're giving people an outlet to be able to share these stories and share their truth and share their testimony. And that's something that needs to be done to be able to hear what we deal with, and what we go through.
Yes. Okay, so let's dive in, Coach. How was your upbringing? Did you grow up in Chicago?
Yeah, I grew up in the projects of Chicago and on 39th and Wentworth. And
Where's that? Southside?
yeah, Southside, 2 blocks from old Comiskey Park. At least that's what I still call it today.
Wow.
From the 2 blocks from the White Sox Stadium.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I'm a White Sox fan. But yeah, so, and for me, I never felt like me being in projects was going to be where my life was going to be. I always wanted to strive to get out the projects. And I knew football was going to be my way of getting out. I just didn't know football would take me this way to get out of it.
Now, when you were growing up, was it difficult?
Oh yeah, in my neighborhood, sometimes there was only 2 ways you was getting out, and neither one of them was a positive way. You was either go out by going to jail or go out dead. So, and very few people left my neighborhood on a positive level. So, and I didn't want that to be my fate. So I knew football was something I knew how to do, I loved to do, and I knew that was going to be my ticket out. And I used to pray and ask God to let me get out the projects through football. So I got what I asked for.
So how did you avoid encounters in the hood? Like, how did you avoid encounters that could possibly be dangerous?
Well, back then, they knew I was an athlete. They knew this was going to be my ticket out, so they wouldn't let me get involved in the games and everything. And been times that I tried to, and I wanted to because that was just part of the nature of growing up and seeing some of my friends do it and being involved in the games. So I wanted to do it too, but they wouldn't let me do it. Whenever things started getting to the point where things was going to go down or something wrong was about to happen, they'd make me go home.
Wow.
So my neighborhood actually saved my life too.
That's amazing, man. Thank God for your neighbors.
Yeah.
Thank God for the people around you. So let's talk about how you got injured, man. It was 1986, correct?
88.
88?
Yeah.
So 1988, can you explain?
Yeah, I can remember that like it was yesterday. It was the opening kickoff of the game. I think it was our 3rd game of the season. And this was my first game starting on both as the linebacker and middle linebacker. I mean, middle linebacker and fullback. Sorry about that. And so I was extremely excited. I'm like, I'm going both ways. That means I ain't going to never be coming off the field. Just going to be all day, every day. So I'm excited going into the game, and it's the opening kickoff. Went down, made my last tackle, and broke my neck and shattered my 34th vertebra. And as I made the hit, I hit him on the side. And as my head was sliding down, his thigh came up and hit me on the chin and snapped my neck back. And I fell down to the turf on my back, luckily. And as I usually do 1,000 times before, I jumped up and ran to the sidelines. Only difference this time, it was mentally and not physically.
I can totally attest to that. That's how I felt when my mom was like, "You're paralyzed," in the hospital, and I tried moving my leg. I was like, "See, Mom, I'm not paralyzed," but my leg wasn't moving.
Mm-hmm. And so after one of my teammates came over, and that's what a teammate's supposed to do. He reached out and he grabbed my arm and he was finna snatch me up. And all I remember is looking at him with my eyes bucked, telling him no, because I knew something was wrong.
Were you able to speak?
Barely.
Barely.
Yeah, barely, but just enough to be able to get his attention for him not to move me. So he dropped my arm, and at that point, he started going to the sidelines and telling the coaches something was wrong. And the coaches ran out there, the paramedics came running out there, and they did what I call the pen test. When they took a pen, took my shoes off, and ran the pen across my feet, and asked me, did I feel it? I'm like, no, I don't feel anything.
So explain to the people this. So you're doing a kickoff. It's like 7 seconds in, and you get paralyzed, like right on it.
So the first 8 seconds of the game.
What were you feeling?
Running down or after it happened?
After it happened.
Like I said, when they was doing that pen test, I didn't feel anything as they run in the pen. They went to my legs, my thigh, my stomach, my chest, my neck. I didn't feel anything till they touched my face. So by the time he got to my face, I got tears streaming down the side of my face. And I look up and I see all the coaches and everybody with tears coming down their face. So I knew something was wrong at this point. I couldn't move nothing, would nothing move. My breathing is getting real shallow. I'm having a hard time breathing. And at that point, I didn't know whether I was going to live or die.
I know what you're talking about.
And it was terrifying.
I know what you're talking about, but I was sleeping, luckily, so I didn't have to see it. You know, you actually had the visuals of what happened. Like, and you said you can remember it to this day.
Yeah. And my coach probably saved my life because they was getting ready to take me in the ambulance and take me to the local hospital. And the hospital that was near the stadium was one of the worst hospitals in the city. And chances are I probably wouldn't be here today if they took me there. So he stood over me and somehow convinced them, demanded, or whatever it did, to get a helicopter out there and fly me down to Northwestern Hospital downtown. And that probably saved my life.
Well, I mean, shout out to your coach.
Yeah.
Coach.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I mean, it's terrifying, it's scary, but it's amazing. You're still here, and I'm happy you're still here.
And funny thing with that, with them putting me in a helicopter, I was afraid of heights. So on top of getting hurt, now y'all finna put me in a helicopter and fly me somewhere.
Were you conscious?
Yeah, I was still conscious doing all this.
What?
Yeah. And so I give a lot of thanks to the paramedic that was in the helicopter because he really kept me calm as we was flying down to the Northwestern Hospital. And craziest thing happened once we get to Northwestern, I stopped breathing. As they was rushing me to the emergency room, I stopped breathing. And I ended up having an out-of-body experience. I was literally looking down on them working on my body, cutting my shoulder pads off, cutting my jersey off, getting the helmet off me, and they trying to resuscitate me and bring life back into my lifeless body.
So you were watching them do this?
Yeah, I was like in the upper right-hand corner in the purest of white room and watching everything they doing, but not panicking. I'm in total peace.
That's how I felt.
Yeah. And just watching everything, like, wow.
It was so peaceful, right?
Yeah.
Until they pulled you back into this fucking world, but it was so peaceful.
And like I tell people, for me, I think that was God making the decision between me either still being here or me going to heaven. And seeing I'm here talking to you today, I guess we know what that is, unless we all in heaven right now.
Yeah, free will.
Yeah. And so he brought me back down and he gave me work to do at that point. And I've been trying to live that purpose ever since.
So you get to Northwestern Hospital. What time is it?
That was a 10 o'clock game. So I probably got Northwestern probably about 11.
Okay.
Yeah. About 11, 11:30. Because it was a 10 o'clock game in the morning.
And were you conscious for that experience?
All the way till we got to going toward the emergency room when I stopped breathing. But all before then, I was still conscious and seeing and everything going on and everybody being frantic and everybody running around trying to get me to where I need to get to try to save my life.
Wow.
And I remember they asked me who did I want them to call. I had them to call my brother instead of my mom's. My moms didn't want me to play football. So I'm like, don't call my mama. I said, call my brother. This is his number. Call him. But please don't call my mama.
So who was there when you woke up?
Oh, I didn't wake up for like 3 days later.
Me too.
Yeah.
3 days.
And the funniest, well, I ain't gonna say funny, but something kind of crazy. When I woke up, they kept the TV on for me. So it was like maybe in the middle of the night when I woke up. And I'm watching this TV show. And I've never been on a cruise. And this is why I've never been on a cruise and I never will go on a cruise. This TV show they had on, it was based on a true story. It was a cruise ship that got hijacked by some pirates or whatever. And they tell everybody to go to the upper deck of this cruise on the cruise ship. So it was one man in a wheelchair. He rolls over to the stairs. So of course he can't get up the stairs. They wouldn't let nobody help him up the stairs either. So they grabbed this man, take him to the side of the ship, shoot him in the head and throw him overboard. This is the first thing I ever see after coming to.
That's terrifying.
I'm like, I would never get on a cruise. I've had people offer to pay me that I would pay for the cruise, all that. I'm never getting on nobody's cruise. Never gonna happen.
So when you got injured and they brought when you got injured and they like kind of like stabilized you and they told you were paralyzed, how did you feel? Like what were your thoughts?
Well, they didn't just tell me I was paralyzed. They told me the only thing I was gonna do the rest of my life was blink. They told me I would never breathe on my own. I would never talk on my own. Never be able to have solid foods. Never be able to have kids. And then to top it off, told me that my life expectancy was 10 years. So all this was dumped on me at the age of 17 years old.
I can't imagine that, man. This is why I have so much respect for you, Coach. And yeah, let's keep going with your story. So, how long were you at Northwestern?
I was at Northwestern probably about 2 months, or maybe a month and a half, maybe about a month and a half, and then they sent me over to RIC.
The iconic Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago.
Yes. And
what was this like in 1988?
for me, and this is why I tell people, being at Northwestern was about what I couldn't do. You can't do this, you can't do that, you'll never do this, you'll never do that. Going to RIC, it was about possibilities of what I can do. Then we go try to teach you how to do this, teach you how to do that. And in my mind, going there, I figured out, okay, after I get to the rehab, I'm going to walk again. I'm going to walk up out of here. Yeah. That was my thought.
I had the same thought, man.
And it took me a while to come to reality to realize that I wasn't going to walk up out of here.
How long did it take you?
Probably took me about a month to get to that. But don't get me wrong, even to this day, I still believe that I'm going to walk again.
Me too.
But I know that I still have a life to live until that happens. I still have a purpose until that happens.
Yes.
So I live with that purpose. But when that day come and God see fit to let me walk again, I can't wait for that day to happen. But until then, I'm going to live life to the fullest.
Life to the max.
Yes.
So when you get to RIC is world known.
Yes.
For their therapy and for their research, for spinal cord injury research. Did you have a lot of hope when you got to RIC, and how were the therapists?
When I first got there, I had all the hope in the world. I'm like, I couldn't wait to get to therapy. I couldn't wait to do whatever they was asking me to do. I was trying to learn everything I possibly could as what I call my new normal. And after a couple of weeks, as a patient, we want to see these huge changes. We want to see these major changes. And I didn't see them. So once I didn't see them, I stopped believing what the doctor told me. when the doctor told me that I'd never be able to breathe on my own, and I'd never be able to talk. Only thing I'm gonna be able to do is blink. And I started believing that. So at some point, I feel like I wanted to give up. And that's when the gentleman came in my life, Daryl Stingley, and he started telling me everything that he was doing and how he was going out, still enjoying life, talking to going and giving speeches to young kids. And I'm like, what? And for the first time, when somebody left out the room and said they understand what I'm going through, I believed him, because he rolled out the room in this power wheelchair like I had to. And everybody else usually...
Just like you did for me.
Right, exactly. And that's where it came from. You got to be able to give back.
So,
Pay it forward.
So, Coach, walk me through the progression of your rehab. Like, how did it start? You got there, you were ventilator dependent, correct? Just like me. Right
Yes.
Now. So walk me through it.
So I was still on the ventilator and everything, and I'm after encountering Daryl, and I everything they want, I was going full out. Every exercise they had me to do, every therapy they wanted me to do. I even changed some of my therapy when I was going through speech therapy. Instead of going through all the exercises they wanted me to do, I started did it a little different. Cause like I said, I liked singing before I got injured. I was actually in a group called New Fortune.
Yeah.
And so instead of doing the regular voice exercises, I would sing. And it caught on with some of the other patients too. And I would be, because it was the same exercise, it was about strengthening my diaphragm. So what do you do when you sing? You take deep breaths in and you let it out and you sing. And that's what I was doing. So my voice started getting stronger, and it just made me a little bit of way of enjoying the therapy sessions, right along with just wanted to do as much as I could. So a day came.
Oh, I can't wait for this story. Yes. Tell me.
I had
wait. How long is this? Is this like a month in?
I was probably in at RSC probably for about a month.
Okay.
And like I said, my story went viral, so I used to always have all these random people coming to see me. So on this day, 2 beautiful young girls came in to see me. They was in high school also.
Okay.
And I'm so intrigued. I'm talking to them and everything. I'm 17, 18 years old. I'm frantic that they're in there. And
were they being nice?
Oh yes. And they look real nice too.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to them. So the respiratory therapist comes in, and he said he need to work on the machine. He need to test everything out. And I said, "Is it okay if they stay in here while you doing that?" He said, "Yeah, no problem." He seen the smile on my face too. So he said, "Yeah, no problem." So when he's working on the machine, checking the machine, he has to turn all the alarms off. So all the alarms off. And while I'm talking to them and so intrigued and all into them, I don't notice that the tubing popped off. So for the first time since my accident, for about 3 to 5 minutes, I'm literally breathing and talking on my own. And I didn't know. He didn't know. Of course, the girls don't know. And then once he finished working on the machine, he turns the alarms back on. So of course all the bells and whistles going off. And yeah, you know. And I panic. And I'm like, I can't breathe. And so he put it back on. They rushed the girls out of the room. And so about 30 minutes later, my whole team come in the room. My doctor, my nurse therapist, physical therapist, everybody come in the room. And I'm looking like, what I do? And they was like, we need to talk to you. Like what? They say if you could do that for 3 to 5 minutes, you should be able to do that forever. And they say we want to send you back to Northwestern to get weaned off. I'm like, no, y'all not. Because to me, in my mind, being on the ventilator was like being on a drug. Because I was dependent on it. And I thought that's the only way that I could breathe.
Yeah.
Is by having that. So I wasn't with going to get weaned off nothing. And I told him, let me think about it. And then on top of that, this was right around the holiday. It was right around Christmas. And this was going to be my first time getting a visit back home. So not only did I have to think about the fact of getting weaned off, going there to get weaned off, but also if I went there enough for us to get weaned off, I wasn't going to be able to go back home. So I told him, let me think about it. So the next morning when I woke up, it's about 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
This is before everybody else gets started. It's an older lady at the door. And this is something that's different from what y'all had to deal with. It was 4 people in my room. It was 4 of us in one room.
Oh my God.
Yes. Could you imagine 4 people? That was crazy. And
That sucks.
right. Wasn't no privacy, wasn't nothing. And wasn't no family being there with you all the time, anything. And so when I woke up, my bed was just so happened to be right next to the door. And it's an older lady at the door. And she asked could she come in and pray for me. So I done hear people do that a lot of times. Like I say, I always had random people coming in. So I told her she could come in and pray for me. So she came in and prayed over me. When she got done, she said, don't worry about anything. God already said you're going to be able to breathe. I'm like, huh? Like, hold on. How she know that what's going on with me if I ain't never met her before? So after she leaves, I hit the button for the receptionist to come. I push my head on the button for the receptionist to be able to come. And when she rings, I said, who is the lady that just came in and she prayed over me? She's like, what lady? Like, quit playing.
No way.
I say the lady that just left up out of here. She was an older lady. She prayed over me. She said, ain't nobody been in here. I said, the lady just left. So by then, the receptionist came to the room and she was like, ain't nobody, doctors ain't even here yet. I say, somebody just left out of here. So she grabbed the phone and she called down to security. Security like, ain't nobody been here. And so for me, I was like,
Holy Spirit.
yeah, that was God sending me an angel to let me know everything was going to be okay. And at that point, I made a decision to go get weaned off.
And I bet you're very happy about that.
Yeah. Probably the best decision I made.
Isn't it great when doctors are wrong?
Yeah.
Honestly. Like, I love it. Because doctors always think they're right. But listen, dude, you practice medicine. You don't know medicine.
Right.
You know what I mean? The big guy upstairs, he's the one.
He's the ultimate doctor.
Yes.
And what this is something, because over the last couple of months, I've been in and out the hospital probably about 6 times.
What's going on?
I had a UTI, a recurring UTI that just kept coming. And with some of the doctors and nurses and everything, I felt like they wasn't listening to what I was trying to tell them.
Yeah.
And what I explained to one of the doctors was, I understand you studied this, you went to school for it, you learned, and you got a PhD. But I said, I got a PhD too. I got a PhD in me.
Yes.
What I know and learned about my body and my system and how things work is something that you will never know. So let's work together instead of against each other. And some of them understand that, and they're willing to open up and let us work together as a team instead of against each other.
All right. So, how was therapy back then in '88 compared to when I did therapy in 2016?
It's a whole lot different. I mean, technology is so much different. You know, where they had the electroshock system that they do. We didn't have that back then. Everything was manually that we did, as far as range of motion and things of that nature. Hooking me up to different machines where my arms was in the air, connected where I was able to swing back and forth and try to get strength within my shoulders. So technology is a whole lot different, even from when you in 2016 up until now.
Yeah.
When I go into Shirley Ryan and see some of the different things that they're doing, and just to see that they're getting closer to finding a cure for paralysis.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a great day. I don't know if it's going to work for me because I'm 36 years in. But if it do, I'll be glad that it will. But I'm hoping and praying that it will come true to help others. If it don't help me.
Well, I had a guy on, John O'Connor. He owns a rehab place called Next Steps. I don't know if you heard of Next Steps. It's kind of like Shirley Ryan, but it's like on steroids. But
Okay.
anyways, they know a doctor in San Diego that's very close to reversing paralysis. And
Cool.
luckily, I'm able to speak to this doctor. So, shout out to Dr. Mark Trzynski and in San Diego University. And we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
I'm excited for the future because
Yeah.
the future only gets brighter.
Always.
Yeah, and honestly, man, like your composure, it's so inspiring. When I was at RAC, I was terrified. I was terrified of the beeping. I was terrified of being alone. My family stayed with me for like a month, like sleeping on cots. Like, were you alone?
Yeah. Well, other than my 4 roommates, yeah. And back then, when 9 o'clock came, they didn't care if you was the president of the United States. You had to leave. So I had to learn how to, in the middle of the night, well, I still had to call like where I could hit the button with my head to get the nurse to come. But I had to learn how to fend for myself a lot.
Yeah.
To try to figure things out on what was I going to do. If I dropped my stick or my stick was a little too far, trying to figure out how could I reach it and things of that nature. So I think in some ways that was good for me. But it was difficult. It was scary. It was hard. Just not knowing there was somebody there if something went wrong immediately. Nurses were eventually going to come, but they had other patients they had to work with too. Yeah. So sometimes they couldn't come right away, but they would get there. And I sometimes I did wish that I did have family that could have been right there with me. But then other times I think it was good for me that I didn't have family because it gave me the opportunity to gain some independence that I don't know if I would have had.
I'm happy you brought up independence because I am so dependent on people, my nurses, my team. I need a support team because I'm a C1 quadriplegic. What are you?
I'm C3, C4 complete.
C3, C4 complete. Okay, so I'm C1 and I'm ventilator dependent, and it's I always need someone with me. When did you gain independence? And how? When did you gain the independence to live on your own? At what age?
First let me say this, Max. I think what you're doing is incredible. For the independence that I know you say you have to have people around you every day, but the independence that you have gained and shown for you from the time when I first met you up until now is amazing. I'm so proud of you, of the man that you have become, the man that I can't wait to see that you're still to grow into. I tip my hat off to you, and I'm thankful that you become a part of my life because you inspire me to continue to do things to be stronger. So I wanted to say that first.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
No problem. I mean, that's the truth. For me, where did my independence start? I would say started in rehab. Because some of the things that they taught us back then, they probably can't do today because of liability reasons.
Okay.
They had me to go out to a restaurant, gave me money, and I had to stop perfect strangers on the street to convince them to take me into the restaurant. Yeah. And then once I got in the restaurant, I had to talk to the manager of the restaurant and ask him if he could take somebody off the floor to feed me when my food got there. And after they fed me, to explain to them where to take my money out to pay for the meal and to get back out the restaurant, I had to stop people that was having meals to ask them to help me get back down the stairs so I could leave the restaurant.
Oh my God, you're crazy. Gosh, you are crazy.
And
Speaking of you saying that, you got injured in 1988. That was before the American Disability Act, correct?
Yep.
What was that like, man?
It was like trying to invent a wheel that never been made. It wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. It was making the wheel.
Okay.
Cause I was one after I left rehab. I was one of the first kids in a wheelchair to go to a regular high school. I remember
You
going
went back to school?
Yeah. I remember going up curve cuts on one end of the street and getting to the other end of the block, and it's not a curve cut there. So I had to come all the way back down, go down the curve cut and ride up the street, and to the next curve cut came to get to where I wanted to go to. But going when I got hurt and when I left rehab, they had one high school in the city that if you were disabled, you had to go to this high school. And for a couple of weeks, I went there. And for me, it wasn't right for me.
Right.
And the person that I was before, because before I got hurt, I was a shy kid. Didn't say much, was in the background. Only time I was vocal was on the football field.
Sir.
And that person would have accepted staying at that high school. But as I tell people, when I got hurt, Kenneth Jennings, the football player, died. And Kenneth Jennings, the man, was born. And Kenneth Jennings, the man, was not going to accept them telling me I had to go to this high school. So at that point, I battled with the Board of Education to go back to Simeon. And the excuses they gave me why they told me I shouldn't be able to go back to Simeon was they told me I wouldn't be able to keep up academically with the rest of the students.
You're cognitively fine.
Huh?
You're cognitively fine.
Yeah, and that's why I explained to them. I say, y'all not understand? My body was injured, not my mind. So I still got my mind. So I threatened to sue them. So that way they start giving me different tests and everything that I could take and do to show that I would be able to compete with the rest of the students academically. Right. So I end up graduating on time, and I increased my GPA from about 2.55, 2.6. I graduated with a 3.75.
Nice, man.
And what I had to do to get to that point, I was taking classes while I was at rehab. But when I left there, I left in April. So I was in between hospital and rehab. I was there 6 months in a day. Mm-hmm. I went in, I got hurt October 8th, and I left rehab April 9th.
Okay.
And immediately went, after I fought to get back into school, I went back to Simeon. It was probably late April. And so I finished the rest of the year there. And during the summertime, I had a summer school class in the morning. I had a tutor in the middle of the day. And I had a class at night at one of the local colleges just so I could catch up so I'd be able to graduate on time with my classmates.
Dude, hats off to you, man. That's amazing.
That's how bad I wanted it. I didn't want this to let no way and no how for people to say, oh, he had to graduate late because what happened to him. No, I wouldn't really take that as no excuse.
So walk me through the progression of your life. So you go to high school. Did you go to college?
Yeah, people thought I was crazy for this too. After I graduated, I decided that I wanted to go away to college like everybody else would. Like I didn't get hurt. And initially I got accepted to Florida A&M. And yeah. And my family like, how you gonna do this? My thing was, I don't know. I'll find out when I get there. So I was planning on going to Florida A&M. And at that time I was on government assistance. And they sent me a letter stating that if I go away to leave the state to go to school, I was going to have to pay for it myself. So at that time, I couldn't afford to pay for it myself. And so I ended up going to Southern Illinois in Carbondale. And at that time, that was the #1 party school in the nation.
Oh, yeah. That's how you.
Yeah, it is. So we got our party on down there. And this was back in 1990.
So you partied.
Oh yeah, I got my part. You
were partying.
And that's when I finally realized I wasn't an athlete no more. Because before then, I still felt like I was an athlete. So I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking, I wasn't doing nothing. So I'm like, I'm an athlete. I can't do none of that. So I got down there, and I was literally sleeping in a regular dorm bed. And I would have pillows on the floor in front of me because I would lay on my side at night to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And just in case I fell forward and fell out the bed, I had pillows on the floor just in case.
Who is helping you?
They assigned me a caregiver while I was there. And he made the biggest difference. So my teammates, I didn't know they went there, and I found out they went there. So I used to sleep a lot of times in their room. But them were the same people that taught me how to drink too. I remember we had a time where we was going out. And so they said we finna go to the liquor store. And man, we ain't grown either. We go to the liquor store and they said we finna get a case of beer.
You roll in there.
Yeah, so when you say a case of beer, what you thinking? You think they finna get a case of beer.
Yeah.
They got a case of 40s.
Whoa.
Yes. I'm like, what we supposed to do with this? I said, oh, this for the week? They said, no, that's for tonight. For tonight? Like, no, ain't no way. Right. So I started getting comfortable with drinking, and I used to have this real long straw. And so it would fit down in the 40 bottle and still long enough for me to drink out of it.
Okay.
So we used to have this drinking game to see who could drink the most, the fastest.
You had a straw, so
yes,
you could drink fast.
Oh, I was wearing them out. And so one time I got so drunk, I'm trying to roll down the sidewalk, and I couldn't go straight. So I would roll all the way over to the grass and turn just before I rolled off into the grass, and then come all the way back down and go right near the curb before I roll off the curb and turn back and forth. So I'm zigzagging going down the street because I was too drunk to ride straight.
You could have got a DUI.
Oh, most definitely.
Driving under the influence.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, Coach. So we have this little white straw next to you. When did you? So that basically allows you to move and control your chair, correct?
Yep. I have a sip and puff wheelchair.
Okay.
This is something they taught. This is one of the things that they taught me how to use when I was at in the rehab center. And it helped change my life because it gave me the opportunity to be mobile.
Mobile, yes.
Where I didn't have to wait for someone to push or move me around, which was extremely important.
Yeah.
And the way that it works, like I said, sip and puff. So I blow hard to go forward. I sip in hard to go reverse. I blow in lightly to go right, and sip in lightly to turn left. And literally, I go everywhere in this chair. And when I go everywhere, I tell people about a story. A few years ago, when I was coaching at Simeon, we
coaching? You were coaching?
Yeah, I coach high school football. I'm quite sure you're gonna get into
everything, man. Holy.
Yeah, I know we're gonna get into that a little bit. And so we made it to the championship game, And somehow my ride to the game got mixed up. So I didn't have no ride to the championship game. So the game was about 2.5 miles away.
You do not.
Yeah.
You drove.
Got in my chair, left out, and went to the game. But that was the easy part.
Yeah.
The hard part was it was in the middle of a blizzard.
Get the fuck out of here. Are you serious?
Yes. So I'm literally in the street riding to the game in the middle of a blizzard. And I could barely see in front of me. So I know people in cars was barely seeing me either. And thank God I was praying all the way there and all the way back. And by the time I got to the game, I hit about 2 inches of snow on my table. That's how bad it was snowing. So I had somebody go outside, got to the game, and sweep all the snow off my table and went to coaching.
Dude, that takes grit. I'll tell you that.
Hey, I was a believer that, and I think it got a lot to do with football, just like with you being in the service,
Yeah.
that you don't believe in letting nothing stop you.
Yeah. That's,
So you live into the max and you push it to the max.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing I do. I push it to the max.
So Coach, you get introduced on how to be mobile with this wheelchair. Then they obviously give you a wheelchair. What were wheelchairs like back then compared to now?
They was a lot harder to drive. They're a lot easier to drive now.
What about like the tires?
Oh, you had air in the tires back then, and so any given time you could be out. Thank God I never had the opportunity where I caught a flat, but I know people that had that was out in their wheelchairs and they got a flat.
What are
And basically you trying to get back home any way that you can. You had to have someone to help you. And it's like having a car. When your car goes on the flat, you basically driving on the rim trying to get back to a destination. But unlike a car where you could basically take it to a lot of different places to get to that tire fix, you couldn't do that with your wheelchair. So you had to make arrangements for someone to either come change the tire, or you had to they had to come pick up your chair and change the tire. And that's the last thing you want to do. Is how come on to come pick up your chair, because you're gonna be out without your chair for about a week. For something as simple as just having your flat in your tire.
I was going to ask, what was the difference with accommodations for people who had disabilities before and after the American Disability Act?
Things got a whole lot better after American Disability Act, because we had someone finally fighting for us, someone that we could depend on, with the government and everybody else that understood that they just couldn't look at us as second-class citizen. They had to look at us and give us respect like they had to give everyone else.
Yes.
And that was huge. And for the people that went in and sat in at the Senate and Congress to make this law, to put this law, I give them all the respect in the world. Because without them, I would hate to see what position we'll still be in if they didn't do what they had to do. They sacrificed a lot in order for for all of us that's disabled to be able to have the respect that we deserve.
Well, thank God for those congressmen.
Yeah.
Thank God for that, because the ADA has helped me a lot too. And I can also be like, hey, this isn't ADA compliant, and then like you could complain, and then they actually figure it out, the restaurant or the place you go to. So, you live in the city of Chicago, correct?
Yes.
And have you bounced around, or have you just had one house?
Now I've bounced around quite a bit. After I came back from college, I was still trying to find myself. And so I remember, before I go there, another piece of adaptive equipment that I use is my mouse stick right here.
Yes, please show me this.
I use this to use my phone with.
Okay.
to use the phone with computers, turn light switches on and off. Pretty much everything I consider as my third hand.
Wait, yeah, me too. Okay, so you have to tell me, when was the mouse stick introduced?
It was introduced to me while I was still in rehab.
Okay.
And for me, it wasn't as hard to have. Cause a lot of people like they not used to having something in their mouth, but with playing football, I was always used to having a mouthpiece in my mouth. So that wasn't a huge adjustment for me. Learning how, because my neck was still weak. Just the fact of trying to hold it up was difficult. Because not only did I have a neck brace on, before I initially, when I first got hurt, I had a halo on too. And for people that don't know what a halo brace is, it's a metal brace that's from your head going to your shoulders with poles, and they literally screw it into your head. Yeah. And I'm not joking. I'm talking literally screw it into your head to keep you perfectly stable.
Yeah.
So when that came off, it felt like my head was 100 pounds. Wow. And so, some of my friends think, or my family think my head probably do weigh 100 pounds for real. But that's beside the point. But I had to, when they taught me with the wheelchair and my mouse stick, the two most pieces of adaptive equipment that I ever had. Because the chair gave me mobility, the mouse stick gave me another form of having a voice to be able to communicate with everybody else by using my phone, to be able to turn channels, to be able to hit buttons. Like I said, it was a third hand for me.
What was the mouse stick like before and now, since like AI is like taking over and like technology? Because a mouse stick usually was used for painting and writing and like flipping the page of a book. Mm-hmm. How did it progress? Like even with smartphones, like when you got your first smartphone, was it amazing?
Oh yeah, it was amazing, but even today, I still don't use all the AI technology or the voice commands to use my phone. I still like using my stick. Like I'm writing a book right now, and I'm using my stick to do it. I don't like all the voice commands, because with the voice commands, it still make mistakes.
Yes.
So you got to go back and you get rid of the word and redo it. When I'm typing, if I'm making a mistake midway through that word, I can see it's a mistake and I can go back and fix it and type it back in the right way. So I still like using my stick. And on the computer, I could type about 30, 35 words a minute.
Yeah.
There's some people that use their hands, they can't type that fast.
What about with the mouse stick?
No, that's what I'm saying. With mouse stick, I type about 30, 35 words a minute.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're telling me you're writing a book with your mouse stick right now?
Yep, most amazing thing. Because for years I had other people that I was trying to get to help me write it, ghost writers and people that said that they was going to help me write it. And they just didn't have the time to be able to help me get it done. Yeah. So God was like, if you want it done, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I started embarking on doing it myself. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot of things that you rehabbing that you forgot about, that you bring it back up to the surface. Is extremely emotional.
Yeah.
But I want to do it because I think my book will change the world.
I think that I'm writing a book too, and I started with my mouse stick as well, but then like, AI came in and the voice control, and now I have helpers. But I commend you for keep writing your book with your mouse stick. And for everybody listening right now, if you are struggling with something, just know this guy is writing a book with a mouth stick on his phone. So don't complain. Go do what you gotta do and fucking strive, persevere.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And back to what the original question was, I remember going back we was talking about independence.
Yeah.
And one day I decided that I wanted to move out on my own. And once again, my family thought I was crazy. And once again, they asked me, like, how you gonna do that? And my answer was the same again. I don't know. I'll find out when I get there. So I found me a place. This was within 2 weeks. I found me a place to live, got it furnished, and went to move in. And that first night when I moved in, everybody's like, you want us to stay with you? No, you can't stay. That's all about me moving out on my own for me to do this myself. And that first night I probably slept maybe an hour total. Because every time I would fall asleep, I would wake up trying to make sure I wasn't falling over out the bed, or I didn't drop my mouse stick, because that was my only form of communication. And there wasn't no cell phones back then either.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I could talk to the phone and tell the phone to call someone. So if I dropped the stick, I was basically sitting there till my caregiver came in the morning. And I had to sleep. I stayed in an apartment building. I slept with the door open, unlocked every day. But I had faith. Yeah, I had faith that wasn't nobody gonna come in and mess with me.
Dude, I'm sorry, but like I could never do that. I don't understand where you get that strength, man. That is just amazing. Like I honestly, like I'm a fucking scaredy cat compared to you, dude. Like, and on top of it, you're living in one of the most dangerous cities in the world.
Yeah.
You know, and you're living in a very dangerous area. You just live life to the fullest. Like,
yeah, walk by faith, not by sight. I knew that I was gonna be okay. I never worried about nobody coming in there.
Does everybody like know who you are in your neighborhood?
Yeah. And that's just it. Whenever I lived at, I want to make sure people see who I am. I want to make sure my presence is known. That's like even when during election time.
Yeah.
I don't do an absentee ballot. I go vote.
Me too.
Because I want people to see me go vote. I want people to recognize and know who I am. Because maybe that'll get some other people to get off their lazy ass and go vote too.
So inspiring, Coach. Honestly, like I got chills and I can't even feel chills. You know what I mean? I mean, dude, when you rolled into my room and I saw like your whole setup, you had a table and everything. I wanted that same setup, but I don't like stuff intrusive in my face. But you said you do because of football, so thank God football like helped you out with that. But when you came in my room and you were telling me, "Hey, it's gonna get better. Okay, you're not always gonna be like this. It's gonna get better." 8 years later, I'm talking to you right now in my house.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's gonna get better. That's what you told me. And I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I had a neck collar on. It's gonna get better. That's what you always told me. And you continue to help the community. So I want to ask, like, what gives you that motivation and to help and inspire people at RIC? Because I know you still go there, right? You're a mentor as well.
Yes. I really feel like that's my purpose. That's why I'm still here. You know, I think everybody need to look within themselves and find out what your purpose is in life. And for me, I believe my purpose is trying to help others. Trying to help other people realize that life is not over. You're not going to go through this alone. And you can do this. And you can live to the max.
My philosophy in life is you have to suffer to succeed.
Okay.
Honestly, I feel like that. I feel like you have to suffer through something, whether it's at the magnitude of like losing all your extremities, or if you just go through a breakup. You know, that's how you do it to succeed. And you're succeeding, man. Like I couldn't do half the things you're doing. I couldn't live in the neighborhood you're living in. I couldn't. I don't even like. How is transportation back then compared to now? Like when it came to like getting around.
Wow. Back then, if you didn't have your own vehicle to get around, you wasn't getting around. Wasn't no like they have today where they have the buses that's accessible, the trains that's accessible, even with the taxis, wasn't nothing accessible. So if you didn't have your own vehicle, you wasn't going nowhere. You was basically in the house. So eventually they started coming out with the Chicago Transit Service started coming out with something called the paratransit service, where you could call the day before and schedule a ride. And that's initially how I was getting around until I got my own vehicle. So I would call the day before, schedule a ride to come pick me up from home, take me where I need to go to, and then bring me back home after I was done.
Yeah.
And then Uber came out with the Wave service.
Yeah.
So then what the Wave is, it's called wheelchair accessible vehicles. And luckily, when they first brought it to Chicago, they hired me as a consultant and paid me and also gave me free rides. Oh, what they do that for? I was taking a ride everywhere I could possibly go to, anywhere I thought I wanted to go to. But even before then, I had my own vehicle. But the problem with having my own vehicle, because I couldn't drive,
Be a driver.
I had to have a driver.
Yeah.
And I don't care even if you was paying folks or whatever. People always seem like they feel like I feel like I was on their time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I would have a speech I got to go to, and they would literally get there late. And what I tried to explain to them was, I'm hired to go do this speech.
Yeah.
So if I get there late, they're not looking at you. They're looking at me, and that's my reputation that's making it look bad.
Yeah. So pedal to the fucking metal. I mean,
Yes.
Jesus.
And if what I need to go to is 30 minutes away, for me that's an hour away, because it's gonna take me anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes to get in the vehicle, another 5 to 15 minutes to get out the vehicle.
Yeah.
So I have to put those things in mind when I'm traveling.
Okay.
And so now I don't have a vehicle anymore because I just got too frustrated with trying to having a driver to get me where I need to get to.
Yeah.
So I use Pace, I use Uber Wave, and I use taxis because they got wheelchair accessible taxis. And I actually work within the mayor's office for disability transportation, where we choose some of the best wheelchair accessible drivers that drive taxis, and we give them an award where they could get their own medallion for their taxi and go into business for themselves. Wow. So it came full circle for me. So that's another one of the things or the jobs that I do.
Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Yes.
Coach, I have a few more questions for you.
Oh, no problem.
Before we get out of here. So, how long have you been injured?
It'll be 36 years this upcoming October 8th. And I changed the narrative of the day I got hurt, because it used to be early on when my anniversary day came around, I seen it as a negative thing. But now I actually celebrate it as a second birthday.
It's like a rebirth.
Yeah, and that's what I call it. I call it a rebirth. I was reborn that day. Because as I said, Kenneth Jennings, the football player, died on that day. But Kenneth Jennings, the man, was born.
Yeah.
So now I celebrate as a birthday. And on days when I cut all my hair off and cut all my beard off, and you can't see none of the gray, I meet a female, I tell her I'm 36. Instead of being 53 like I really am.
It's amazing that a doctor said you're only going to live for 10 years, and here you are
36
almost
years
40 years later.
And everything they told me, God has reversed and made it something different. Told me I wouldn't be able to breathe. I'm breathing. They told me I wouldn't be able to talk again. God is putting me in front of almost 5,000 people to talk. They told me that I would never have kids.
6,000.
I got a daughter that's 30, and I just had my She just had my second grandson.
You have children?
Yeah, I got a daughter. She's 30. She's 30 years old. Her name is Denise, and I got 2 grandkids now. She just had my second grandson, probably about 2 weeks ago.
Dude, congratulations.
Yeah, so everything they told me I couldn't do, wouldn't be able to do, God say, they don't know what they're talking about.
Screw that doctor.
Yeah,
He said you couldn't have kids, you had kids.
Yes.
Said you couldn't talk, you could talk. Said
And put me in, and not only talking, but put me in front of the world to talk about the testimony he gave me.
yeah.
So it wasn't just the fact of letting me talk. He put me in a position to share and to talk to the world and make a difference. Like I had somebody told me one day, he said, you like a painter. Only difference you paint with words instead of with paint.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I take that.
So my question is, and it's to help everybody out there that's listening that's in a disability just like us, how do you stay healthy? Like how were you able to live this long and, perspire? Persevere.
First I'm gonna say by the grace of God, I always gotta give God the glory first and foremost.
Yeah.
Really we have to understand we can't eat and do things like everybody else. We have to be careful of what we put in our body. Because some of the things that I used to eat beforehand, I can't eat now. I won't eat now. Water is extremely important with being in the chair. You can have your pops, you can have your juices, all that in moderation. But one of the biggest things you need to do is drink plenty of water. That's first. And I try not to eat a lot of red meat anymore, especially when we're getting older. I try not to eat a lot of red meat anymore because red meat sits on your body for 14 days before it digests through your system. So I try to eat very little red meat. And fruits and vegetables are extremely important. So I tell patients now, you have to become the CEO of your own body. And so you have to take care of your body like it's a Fortune 500 company. And some of the best companies in the world are Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah.
So you treat your body that way, like it's a temple, because it is. And the better you treat your body, the better your body is going to treat you. And if you don't treat your body well, you're going to find yourself in the hospital. If you don't treat your body well, you won't be here long. And I want to be here for a long time. I done did 36. I'm looking forward to another 36.
That is some great wisdom. It really is. Brings chills to me, dude. Like, you're such an inspiration. I'm so happy you're sitting in my living room right now. Sitting in my living room right now. Let's go on a good note. So you mentioned that you are a coach for football, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen?
After I was doing speaking, as I said, I became a motivational speaker, and I was speaking in most of the high schools and grammar schools throughout the city and everything, but I still didn't feel like I was complete. I still wanted football to be a part of my life. So the first way football became a part of my life, I had a friend of mine that came over. One day he's like, I found a way for you to play football again. I'm looking at him like, what? He said, I found a way for you to play football again. So he pulled out the game John Madden. And I learned how to play the game. The first time we played against each other, he kicked my butt. Beat me like 56-10 or something like that. And I was like, leave the game here. So I stayed in my chair all night and played the game all night long. And so when he came over the next day,
Wait, how?
I was using my mouse stick. And I turned the controller sideways. So I had to not only play the game, but I had to reprogram my brain to use the controls sideways and still all the running and do everything else that everybody else was doing.
Amazing.
And the next day he came over, I kicked his butt. And I've been kicking people's butt ever since then. I got to the point where I used to play for money. I done won a whole lot of money playing against each other and other people. I done had people want to fight me because I was kicking their butt so bad. But all that did was fuel me to want to get back into football even more.
Okay.
So I decided that I wanted to coach football. And I went to a lot of different coaches that I'd known from when I was playing football, watching football. And I asked them, would they hire me? Would nobody hire me? Because secretly, behind my back, they were saying, how can someone that can't move their arms or move their legs coach football?
What?
Yeah.
Describing. Using your voice.
But that's what I remember. I remember my coach telling me that football was 90% mental and 10% physical.
Oh.
I had the mental part of it, and I got the kids for the other part, for the 10%.
You got the spasms for the 10%.
And one coach gave me opportunity named Elton Harris at Hubbard High School. And since then, this is my first year not coaching. So I've been coaching since about 99.
Whoa.
Yeah, so almost 25 years. And I've been to 5 state quarterfinals, 3 state semifinals, and have personally coached 2 All-Americans. Wow. And that's somebody that can't move their arms or legs. And every coach that wouldn't hire me, I had the pleasure of beating. And one coach.
That felt good.
Oh, wonderful. Like I could have been on your staff. But now you got to take this. I would say the word of Diddy or take that. But I don't know it's too good to say that right now.
Dude, you are an awesome person, man.
Thank you.
You're like, I'm so glad you made it out today. I know it was hard, but I tried accommodating every way possible. Thank you so much. You know,
Max, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I know we've been trying to make this happen for a while, and when you reached back out to me and asked me that I want to come, I was going to jump leaps and bounds to make sure that I was able to get out here. And I really appreciate giving me the opportunity to be on your show. And what a wonderful show and setup that you have out here.
thank you.
And anytime that you need me for anything, just call me up. I'll be there. 'Cause like I told you then, that you'll never have to go through this alone. I still tell you now. I'm as long as you need me, I'm going to be there.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Well, everyone, thanks for watching, and take a breath for me. Everything turns out to be okay. And okay, meaning it may look like different for other people and everyone else. When I say take a breath for me, I'm saying take a breath if you're having a rough day. Take a breath for me because I can't breathe. And thank you, Coach, for coming on the show. Kenneth Jennings. We'll make sure to put his socials on. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. I see the activity on the channel, and I love all you guys. And I'm paralyzed from the neck down, breathing through a machine, but that doesn't stop me from following my dreams and doing what I love to do.
Yes.
I don't got any excuse, and neither should you. See you guys in the next one.
And when the haters come attack, you gotta vibe and weave. Gotta hit them where it hurts, like Muhammad Ali. You got a torch on the way, cause it's time to leave. Said the parties never end, and we ain't got to leave. Cause the night's still young, just enjoy the breeze. Damn, can't lie, today was a good day. Fell fly, new cool kicks and a kick-ass ride. And I kick it with my dogs, we just tryna get by. Just a couple of punks, all trying to get by. Just a couple of teens, all trying to survive. Live to the max, cause you don't live it twice. Couple green thumbs, all high as a kite. Weather getting warmer, getting closer to the summer. Damn, I don't wanna grow up.